The results have been in since Wednesday morning, and so have the reviews about how the presidential debate went. The reviews have been in since Wednesday for the first presidential debate of the 2020 general election, and there seems to be a consensus it was a complete fucking disaster. From ABC News to CNN to Faux News, TV hosts and other commentators agreed that the first debate devolved into an incoherent mess, largely because Fat Ass 45 wouldn't shut the fuck up and allow former Vice President Joe Biden to have his say, repeatedly flaunting the rules on time limits by interrupting his Democratic opponent. Immediately after the debate, ABC News host George Stephanopoulos called out what he described as the worst debate that he's ever seen in his life. He said that he basically said he had to speak personally here. He said, as somebody he's watched the debates for over 40 years, and as somebody who's moderated presidential debates, and as somebody who's prepared candidates for their debate, and as somebody who's covered presidential debates, that was the worst presidential debate that I've ever seen in my life. CNN news anchor Jake Tapper also echoed the same sentiment. He basically called it a hot mess and said a dumpster fire and said a train wreck. That was the worst debate that anybody has ever seen. In fact, it wasn't even a debate; it was a disgrace. And it's primarily because of Fat Ass 45. We'll talk about who won the debate, who lost the debate. But I can't. But I can tell you I can tell you one thing for sure: the American people lost tonight because that was horrific. CNN correspondent Dana Bash agreed with Tapper that was a shit show. She said, "We're on cable, we could say that. Apologies for being maybe a little bit crude, but that was really the phrase that I'm getting from people on both sides of the aisle on text, and it's the only phrase I can think of to really describe this situation." On NBC News, Savannah Guthrie kicked off the discussion this week. We just need to pause for a minute and say, this was fucking crazy. What kind of shit, what kind of debate was this? It was basically a train wreck, said NBC News anchor Chuck Todd. But it was a train wreck of the making of one person. I mean, look who did it. Fat Ass 45 did this. MSNBC news anchor Brian Williams also agreed. What a dark event we have just witnessed. CBS News political analyst John Dickerson also said when the stakes were that high, the debate couldn't have been lower. It was not an equal opportunity experience. The fat ass of the United States was by far responsible for a greater share of the jaggedness at a time when America does not need to be jagged. Even even faux news anchor racist insanity, a consistent nutlicker of the fat ass, conceded the debate. And basically he conceded the debate didn't go how a lot of people would have liked, although he spun his criticism as to no as to not to as not to solely impugn Fat Ass 45. He says, I grew up, I played hockey, we dropped the globes every day. Some people probably think it's too hot, but it was both sides. Later on Foe at First in the Morning, political analyst Ron Meyer echoed the sentiment that emerged elsewhere. Honestly, there wasn't much greatness in this debate. In my opinion, it would be one of the worst debates in televised American history. Flipping through news channels, last night and this morning, it's the overwhelming takeaway from the debate, regardless of which candidate you prefer. It was a debacle. Um, so if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Ryan Ben White, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes in. And thanks for listening.